Okay, we're getting ready to start again. We're now starting with the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts, and their schedule is 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. So we're going to try to move through this quickly so we can get back on schedule. And just for your reference, we're looking at volume 1 of your book, beginning on page 356 under MR Art and Culture. Baltimore Office of Promotion and Arts, you're on.
Morning. Thank you, Madam Councilwoman and City Council, for the opportunity to appear before you this morning. My name is Brian Wentz, the Chief Financial Officer of the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts. Joining me here today is Randy Norris, BOPA's Deputy Director of Administration. Our Chief Executive Officer, Donna Sawyer, sends her apologies for not being able to attend this morning, as she is currently out of the office on a short-term leave. Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts is a 501c3 nonprofit that serves as Baltimore's Arts Council, film office, and event producer with the mission of contributing to the social, cultural, and economic development of Baltimore City. We work very hard to actively promote the positive aspects of the city and many of those things which are do not receive media attention. Though the pandemic has significantly affected financial support for the arts globally, we have continued our fundraising efforts to produce arts programming and events, mostly in a virtual environment over the last 14 months. Majority of our staff has worked remotely during this time, but there have been a few departments who have continued their public work, including the film office, our event staff, and Arts Council, and I'll mention a few of their activities in a minute. Before I start to discuss the slides, I wanted to thank City Council again for their support through this operating grant, which typically covers approximately 2/3 of BOPA's annual personnel expenses. Start with the slides. The first slide, BOPA consistently leverages that operating grant investment that the city makes into generating hundreds of millions of dollars annually through the production of festivals and events and the management of the Baltimore Film Office. And despite the decrease in economic impact due to COVID, where we were not able to host festivals and public festivals and events, we continue to generate economic impact through some of our other activities and continue to impact not only the city's economic development, but also individual residents as well. Some of the activities that we were able to continue: Baltimore Farmers Market reopened late spring of 2020, and that provided a safe outdoor venue for residents to access fresh food options. We continue to administer the Creative Baltimore Fund, where we distributed more than $200,000 to city artists and organizations, and we thank the council for that specific funding stream as well. Even though we were not able to hold Artscape as normal, we continued to present a longtime staple of Artscape, which is the Sondheim Art Prize. Due to the pandemic, we were able to expand the number of artists who received awards from the Sondheim to almost 40, and those awards ranged from $500 to $25,000 for the winner. BOPA was also very proud of an initiative that we started at the beginning of the pandemic, which was the Baltimore Artists Emergency Relief Fund. This fund was gathered in collaboration with other arts organizations and funders in the city. We were able to raise $160,000 and distributed every penny to more than 320 artists in the community of all types, visual artists, performing artists, support staff, all of those in the art community who were put out of work by the pandemic. Our arts education department continued with some of their work, including engaging city and state youth in positive activities, which included the National Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. BOPA was named the Maryland affiliate for the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards in 2020. And we saw a slight decrease in the program number of entrants in 2021, only because of schools being closed, but we plan to expand that program in fiscal 22. And the Arts Council also continued with its production of public art throughout the city. Baltimore Film Office was able to continue to facilitate safe filmmaking, although in a limited capacity, generating approximately $40 million of economic impact to the city for fiscal 21. That department is just a two-person department, and over the three most recent non-COVID fiscal years, there's been an average of $145 million of economic impact over those years. And that was despite a reduction in state tax credits for filmmakers to come to the city and the state, as well as the loss of a major TV production. BOPA would like to explore opportunities with council to provide additional support and funding for the film office so that we can continue the current level of service that we are performing, as this is a very significant driver in the city economy. Fiscal 22, we plan to continue all of these programs, as well as restoring public festivals and events that have been a BOPA hallmark for years. Do that as permitted by the city health guidelines. Second performance measure is the percentage of community areas with access to BOPA services. With the importance of equity and equitable access, we developed this new performance measure to evaluate how widely the arts and our services are accessible within the city. And we are refining how this will be measured going forward, as it is just a new performance measure. Currently, the percentage is at 98, and obviously we want to increase that to 100%, but that's not very big jump. So our focus now is on the depth of access to the arts and our services, and how equitable that access is. So as additional public spaces open, new parks are created, and as the communities change and evolve, going to deepen our impact and allow citizens to have a more broad access to our services. And we plan to do that by expanding partnerships with individuals and civic art organizations to not only reach more citizens, but increase the number of ways that we reach them. And our process includes conducting outreach so that we engage artists and individual community members to find out what they want to see in their communities, and not take the approach that BOPA knows what these communities would like and what they need, but really have the individual artists and communities contribute and tell us what they would like, and then model our programming. Once we begin festivals and events again, we also are looking at ways to more equitably conduct those programs. And we are also incorporating equity into our strategic plan, which is being developed. Equity is a central theme of that plan. The final point I want to make is, although we are focused on Baltimore City, our activities have a reach that extends into the state, nation, and internationally, especially through our Light City Festival, where we bring in international artists. So BOPA is an organization that reaches far outside the city of Baltimore.
Thank you, Mr. Withers, for your presentation. And on behalf of the council, thank you for standing strong and holding up through this pandemic. We all know that Baltimore has a rich history in art, culture. Um, our partnerships are so important. There are just some valuable, wonderful things that are going on in the city. Great talent, and appreciate your office just standing strong as we get through this pandemic. Um, I know that Councilman Dorsey definitely has a particular interest in the arts as well. And I see his hand is up for comment, question, and we have like 9 minutes to move on to the next thing. So Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Uh, where are we? Thank you for your presentation. Thanks for being here today, Brian. This is for you and also for the city administrators who I see is on here. Where are we in improved operations for the Public Art Commission funds?
So as you know, Comptroller Henry announced that his office was going to assist us in enforcing the 1% for art ordinance. The biggest challenge that we've had is determining the amount of dollars that are owed by the different agencies. And the process that has been put in place just in the last month is that the Comptroller's office will review all of the contracts and make sure that those contracts have the 1% for art included in the budget.
And I appreciate the controller's contribution in that way, but there was also a concern about how that number is going to be determined, and there was to be some kind of there was going to be some sort of discussion that needed to take place in order to work out some challenges that everybody acknowledged in that. And it was my impression that that pursuit was going to occur in pretty short order. Is that happening? Where is that?
We've had only brief discussions on that so far, but it's definitely at the top of our list to make sure that we coordinate with the Comptroller's office and the city agencies so that everyone understands what how the calculation is going to be determined.
Okay, Mira, can I make a request for the, I mean, I'll ask, Chris Shorter is here. Chris, do you have anything to add to this at this point?
Councilman, thank you for the question. I'm not sure I fully follow what you mean in terms of the complication and the discussion that we had with the comptroller's office around the work that he is doing was to make sure that that items coming to the Board of Estimates that we did not require that those projects named the specific art project where the funding would be assigned. That would, in many cases, further prolong or I should say, put barriers, significant barriers in place for the items going to BOE.
Okay.
Other than that issue, I don't know of any. I'm not sure if I completely follow.
So, Councilman, so are you asking for a follow-up request for us for the?
Yeah, I think that my impression from the statement and the letter that was published about it was that there was still some challenge of determining eligibility for the 1% on a project by project basis, and that there was something that needed to be worked out. I'd just like to ask that we just have a follow-up conversation about that. It sounds like that's not actually the case. I thought that I had one other question, but we're running short on time. Is there if there's anybody else that has
do we have another council member that has a question, or we'll go ahead and let Councilman Dorsey finish his last question, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next office. Councilman Dorsey, you said you had one more question?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess as we're looking at how the ARP funds are going to be utilized, the council unanimously supported a resolution a couple of months ago to call for at least $1 million of federal funding to go to direct relief to individual artists. And we had some conversation with BOPA about interest and willingness and capacity to administer that. The way that the ARP funds are being kind of presented to council members is through this process of us endorsing kind of things that are being led by other people. I want to make sure that BOPA is actually making that request to actually get those funds as a project of theirs so that I can endorse BOPA doing that. Is this has there been any further conversation about this at BOPA and between BOPA and the administration?
Yes, absolutely. We actually have, I think, 3 different proposals that we're working on to utilize the ARP funding and the grants to individuals that you discussed. That's definitely one of them.
Great. I'm looking forward to endorsing a proposal for at least $1 million to go directly to individual artists.
So I see someone here from BBMR. Did you want to comment on that, or someone from the finance department? Any comment on that request from the council member?
My comment is consistent with Aaron Moore, who's been connected closely to that work in my office, comments at the hearing on Tuesday regarding the process that's still being developed to apply for those funds. So I would keep my comments consistent with that feedback that there will be opportunities to apply for that funding, the process of which is being rolled out now.
And in terms, Councilman Dorsey, in terms of administering that fund, as I mentioned earlier, we took an initiative upon ourselves at the beginning of the pandemic where we gave grants to 320 different artists, managed over $160,000. So our processes are in place, although it's a larger dollar amount, the processes would be exactly the same.
And I think at our hearing on this resolution, we had strong support from folks like Alana Nicole Davis, who really testified that BOPA did an excellent job administering that. And I feel like there are a lot of people that are very happy with that. And, you know, I don't think anybody would suggest that BOPA should not be the person to administer such a fund. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. And I don't see any further questions, so we can now get back on schedule. And thank you, Mr. Wentz, and your team, and for the work you continue to do in our city. And we're with you 100%.
Thank you, Madam Councilwoman. Appreciate the time.
So now need 2 minutes just to get set up for the Environmental Control Board. And for reference, that's in volume 2, beginning on page 27. So give 2 minutes for that office to set up. Thank you.